Alright, so today I've got a bit of a different video planned for you guys as I decided to do a tier list video. Now this is something I've never uploaded on my channel before, so if you guys do enjoy it, you'll have to let me know as I literally have no idea if you guys are into this kind of content or not. If you do, let me know in the comments. Alright, so today's video is basically going to be a tier list video for the latest World Championship qualifier that just started today. Basically just me talking shit and giving you guys my opinion on what are the best decks right now and what are going to be the best decks for this event. Now a couple of very important things to note. First of all, this is going to be based on basically more leaning towards Stage 2 than Stage 1. If you don't know what that means, any of these World Championship qualifiers or KC Cups or Duelist Cups, they're all split into two stages. The first stage is basically just a glorified ranks ladder where probably any single deck on here, maybe not Blue Eyes, every single deck on here could probably be used to clear that stage. It doesn't really matter too much, and whatever I show you on this tier list, you can play whatever you like, it really doesn't matter. But Stage 2, that's where things become a bit more tricky. As it becomes MMR focused, there's a point system, it becomes based on your win rate and how quick your deck can be. Those are the two main factors. And to show you some proof of this, here's a latest KC Cup from Duel Links, which it's the same format as Master Duel. They basically copy and pasted it, so that's why I'm showing you these sort of results. I would show you a Master Duel one, but I don't think there's any sort of stats like this out for them yet, so this is the latest KC Cup. And you'll notice there's people on here who have insane win rates of something like 67% and crazy win rates like this, but very few games. And you'll notice other people who are only like 2 placings lower, who have 56% win rate, which is obviously way worse, but they played 400 games. So the point of this is to show you guys that if you're happy to play 600 games with a deck list with a 55% win rate, you're still going to score or place just as high as someone who's only played 155 games, but a nearly 70% win rate. Look at the difference of this. 600 games, 150 games. So the point is, if there's a deck in here that's extremely quick and has a decent win rate, maybe not the best win rate, it's going to place really, really well in this cup if you're willing to play enough games. That's the whole point. Whereas a deck like Telement, of course, despite being a fairly slow deck, it's going to have the best win rate against everything, so it's still going to place fairly highly. So win rate and speed are the two main factors for the Stage 2 portion, which is what I'm going to be sort of basing this tier list more on. So keep that in mind. The other thing to mention is, if you guys do enjoy this kind of content and will see more videos just like this in the future from me, make sure to let me know in the comments, leave a like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, let's get into this tier list. Alright. So if your deck list doesn't feature on this tier list for whatever reason, obviously I can't show every single deck in Master Duel as there's billions of them. I just try to pick the most popular ones in the game based on sort of this list here, just grab the most popular ones. So yeah, if your list is on here, it's just not played very often and it's hard for me to sort of do it, so apologies on that. Alright, let's get into it. So first we have Brigade. Now Brigade has basically disappeared for God knows how long. I think there's a few Sprite variants of Brigade going around, which at that point you might as well just play pure Sprite. It's definitely a Copium tier, this one. I'm almost willing to put it in Despair tier. This is, it's a deck, okay? Then we have, I believe this one was, is this the Endymion or the other one? No, Endymion's next. This is the Pendulum Magician one. Now my sort of views on Pendulum, I don't play the deck, I try to basically ignore it. I honestly thought these two deck lists were exactly the same, because I literally don't read the cards whenever I come across them. So for me to sort of rank this as I don't even know if I can rank these, so I have no idea how good they are. I think Endymion's the better ones. I think Endymion's actually playable, especially in a format where there's not as many hand traps, because Telement doesn't play that many hand traps. So I actually think Endymion might be playable. So I might put that in at least tier 4, because I think it's definitely better than Copium, although we'll put the other one, if I think it's worse, in Copium tier. But for these ones, take it as a grain of salt. I have no idea what these decks even do, so. Alright, Madolche. Has Madolche even, existed since tier came around? I feel like this is actually, Madolche has to be Copium, right? I've got Master Duel Meta here to see if we've got some any toppings or anything, but I'm pretty sure Madolche, do they have, anything? Right, they've got nothing. What is special, mate? I don't know. There's no chance this deck is good. We're gonna put that in Copium. Blue Eyes White Dragon. Oh yeah, that's a... Oh, I believe it deserves its own rating above Telement, honestly. This deck is so goddamn good. We'll put it in Despair. Alright. Okay, now... This is actually the Copium deck list. I saw so many people when Telement first came out hyping up this deck because there's a searchable Necro Valley. bruh, it can only play first. It has like very little hand traps in the deck list because it needs this bunch of this bricky stuff. It bricks so often because there's so many cards in the deck that are garnets and you draw them so often. It is 100% a Copium one, this one. It's not even, yeah, it's hot garbage. So many people were like hyping this up when it first came out just because it can search Necro Valley in a Telement format. It's garbage. It can only go first. Don't play that. Alright, damn, we're getting a lot of Copiums off out of the way first. Alright, Salamangreat. Yeah, Salamangreat is a deck list that exists, I guess. I saw like IRL, this topped some YCS or something recently somehow. Don't play Sal anymore, okay? It's a bit outdated. People still really try hard to make this shit work though, but it is outdated as all hell. Synchron. Alright, so we recently got some new support for this deck list, and it belongs next to Blue Eyes. Alright, Numeron. Now, okay, Numeron. Alright, Numeron's got to be better than Despair tier, but it's still got to be hot garbage, right? Damn, there's so much garbage in here. I should have really cleaned up a lot of these, maybe try to, I guess there really isn't that many good decks in a tier format, to be fair. Alright, it's got to be better than, it's better than Despair. Is it better than any of these ones, though? I don't know about that one. I mean, I'm pretty sure it actually has more toppings, if I remember correctly. Or at least more Diamond 1 placings. Not that that means anything. Where is it? Is it even in here? I think it was. There's Numeron. Yeah, they're all Diamond 1 toppings. None of these are tournaments. The main advantage, though, of this particular deck is that it's so goddamn quick. Like, if you have a 55% win rate, a 54% win rate with Numeron, you're gonna climb with it, because it's a speed deck. So I think it's tier 4, right? Yeah, I think it has to be here. It's a quick deck. Unlike something like Crystal Beast, which is still a relatively slow deck. Well, there's a lot of OTKs in Crystal Beast. Maybe Crystal Beast should be tier 4. No, that's too Copium. Alright. Rika. Now, Rika surprised me, because I thought Rika would be awful in this format, purely because it's like... The deck is, one, it's pretty slow, and two, a lot of the tier counters people are playing will affect Rika pretty heavily, but I've noticed there were a lot of just random ass results from Rika, as far as I remember. Like, I know a few weeks ago, there was a Farfa's tournament, this one, I think. Yeah, the Challenger Cup. There was a Challenger Cup topping from it, which is pretty damn impressive to get. I'm not sure how many people were playing in this Challenger Cup. How many people were in it? Like 256 players and you're getting a top 4 with Rika? Yeah, this was a Telement meta too. Like, Telement was out at the time. And it's got to be fairly decent if it's topping Challenger Cups. And I'm pretty sure there's a couple of other tournament toppings as well. So I think this actually might be... It's either 3 or 4. I think it's got to be 3. Yeah, we'll put it in 3. I think it's got to be... It's fairly decent, I'm pretty sure. It's not... My main concern is that it's slow, so it's slow for this format, and like I said, I think a lot of the tier counters will affect this pretty heavily, like Crows and... Because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of graveyards involved, right? Maybe I'm completely wrong on that. Yeah, that's a not sure on that one. Alright, Sword Soul. Now, okay, Sword Soul, it's gotta be good. It's gotta be good. I don't think it's quite good enough for tier 1, because it's sort of reserved for the actual pure tier counters, but it does have a lot of, especially with that one dragon in it. Let me bring it up real quick. Not this one. Because I know there's a lot of, I'm pretty sure Challenger Cups, it was everywhere, if I remember correctly. Maybe not. It's showing last 2 weeks, isn't it? I swear there was some Challenger Cup toppings for it. Was these ones? No, it wasn't. A Master Circuit Series topping. But I noticed this deck list has a lot of decent results, purely because of Protoss is really damn good into, or potentially good into locking your opponent out of playing... Obviously, summoning all the tier stuff. I swear there was actually Challenger Cup toppings. Maybe I'm actually on Copium and I'm looking at the wrong thing. Either way, I'm pretty sure this deck list is good. I would be surprised if it's not. It's not Copium. It's definitely a good deck list. It has a lot. That one specific card, that one Protoss, which is searchable, does have a good effect to deal with Telement, and it's just got a standard sort of decent board setup anyway. So of all decks to play, it's not the worst. It's definitely not a Telement counter though, but yeah. Mathmech. Okay, Mathmech, unfortunately, it's... Oh, I don't even want to put it in tier 4, man. it's affected so heavily by the Ishizu shufflers, right? So it's just like, do I really ever want to play this over like anything else here? Its combo isn't particularly long. Going second, its lethal strat is literally like the same 3-card combo. Just 3 monsters on field equal access code lethal. So maybe it is tier 4. It can't be that bad. I don't think there's been many toppings for it though, if I remember. Is there any in here? Math Mech? 1? Few people getting Diamond 1 with it. Some random ass tournament too, not even a MCS or Challenger Cup. It's probably a bit too Copium. I think it's too affected by the Ishizu shufflers, but it's a fairly quick deck, so maybe it could be tier 4, maybe. I don't know. I think I'm gonna put it in there though. Okay. Normal summon, go into your 1 negate pass. Alright, that's a despair tier right there. Like, if you're gonna play it, like, the only possible combo with this is Shadow. And let's be honest here, there's a certain deck that's a little bit better with Shadow, I reckon, than playing Invoked right now. Let's just put that in despair. Alright, okay, this is obviously a tier 1. This is a deck that is definitely good into Telement, so it has a good Telement matchup, and it's also really good at being sort of quick, because its combo, it's tiny. Like, this deck list combo, it's like summon, exceeds, summon your thing, pass your turn, set some trap cards, kind of a deal. It's an extremely quick combo, and even trying to kill your opponent. People might think this is a fairly slow way to do so, but it's not, because your Exceeds monster can attack twice with 2800 damage, and if you have another Exceeds monster next to it, that's basically just lethal. So this thing, it's a very quick deck, it has a decent matchup into Telement, a bunch of different tournament toppings. It's a very, very good deck list. Basically anything that can play D-Fisher or the other one, Dimensional Shifter, is going to be a fairly decent deck list. And this is one of the main ones that can. It's a really good deck list for it. Even has that little inbuilt sort of inherent tier counter of your monsters like to summon out Exceeds monsters if your opponent uses their graveyard. So it's good into tier. It's not going to be better than tier, but it's obviously, yeah, it's got to be up there. Fluunderies. So this is, speaking of deck lists that are fairly good into tier, this is probably going to be in your tier 1 category as well. I think this deck is a little bit weaker in current format, because I think the stage 2 format is a bit too quick for it. This is a very slowish sort of a deck. Like, what I mean by that is, going first, you take a little bit while to normal summon all your stuff, and then going second, or when your turn passes back to you or goes into your opponent's turn, you're basically doing the exact same combo during your opponent's turn. You normal summon like 4 times, and that's even before your opponent's even started playing. So it's not that great into current format. It's probably better than Sword Soul though. It's definitely better than Rika. It's better than Sword Soul, so it's probably going to sit in here. But it's not the... It's definitely worse than this one, I'd imagine, just in current format. Just because it's gonna be too slow of a deck to be as good. So my preferred counter would be this one, I imagine. But it's definitely not bad. I'm pretty sure even on their Master Duels tier list right now, which is based off of tournament and I think... That's based off all community tournaments. Yeah, it's actually considered much higher on here, so... Yeah. Obviously a good deck. Yeah, we'll just keep it there. Okay. Yeah, okay, to be fair, I haven't played much of this deck yet. This Goatee or Fish, or however you want to call it. I haven't played much of this deck yet, so it's really hard for me to sort of say if it's good or not. I think it's bad, but then again, I lost to it today. So, I don't know, I think I got a 50% win rate against it. I played against it twice, I won once and lost once. So that's like, where do I rate this thing? Just off pure just first glance, it seems pretty bad. At most, it's doing like 1 board nuke banish as like its only sort of removal. If you negate any of their summons, they just lose. I'm pretty sure it's Despair tier. I'm pretty sure it's Despair. Alright, Branded. Alright, Branded's got to be in the same sort of place as Rika. Because this deck, I believe, has a couple of tournament toppings, but it's like... I think it's just off the back of the deck still somehow managing to still be powerful. Which has quite a few. It can also play tier, by the way. That's another thing to speak about with this deck list. It can actually play tier itself, so... I have no idea what that is. Maybe Yu-Gi-Oh! Challenge or something? There's a Master Circuit series topping, though. Without tier. It's playing Shift. I guess it can play Shifter if it likes. Is that common? So I don't think many people are playing Shift. Oh, probably not, because a lot of people are playing tier on it. Alright, so this deck... Oh, okay. Maybe it's here. Okay. Purely because it can play tier, it's got to be in this list, right? But I'm pretty sure you might as well just play pure tier and you're going to have a better time. But because it can play tier, we might as well put it at least tier 2. I think it's probably about the same level with tier Sword Cell, though. It's definitely better than Rika, though. Yeah, it's definitely better than Rika, but probably only with tier. I think without tier, I wouldn't really be playing this deck. Alright. At that point, you should probably be playing Telement. Alright, Runic. Okay, this is Despair. So the issue with Runic is, for anyone that's been trying to play Runic Naturia, it's a, so that, we might as well put Naturia here too. So the issue with these deck lists, and basically I'm pretty sure this deck list is only really played with this one anyway, but they're both heavily affected by Ishizu Shufflers. Ishizu Shufflers are the absolute worst. They make it so that all your Runic draw is just completely removed, because your field spell is trying to draw based on cards in graveyard. As soon as you try to put them back in the deck, your opponent activates a Shuffler, you lose the game. The other major issue with Runic, as it literally has inherent battle phase skipping, which in its, like I said, a speed format for stage 2, you don't want to be skipping your battle phase. You want to be winning the game as quickly as possible and moving on to the next one. It is way too damn slow. So can't be played, which means probably this Naturia deck can't be played as well, as they're basically the same deck list most of the time. If you're trying to play pure Naturia, it'd still be pretty bad, because summoning a monster that negates spells in a format with a deck that is doesn't care about spells, well, it has a couple of spells, but really doesn't care all that much, it's just not a good idea. So unfortunately, Ishizu Shufflers ruined this deck list. Next format though, this one's probably going to be up here somewhere in the top tiers, but at the moment, these two are just garbage. Alright, we have, I've forgotten the name of this deck. I know what it is, I just forgot the name of it. The trap deck that likes to, Labyrinth, that's it. Labyrinth. Oh, I'm thinking it's too slow for the format. It's probably a Copium. It's a little bit too slow. You can play a lot of Floodgates that can make it harder, but going second, obviously, it's pretty bad. Although it can play evenly, which is pretty good. It's definitely better than the Despair tier, but it's not, it can't be up here. It's a deck that exists, I think. I don't know, I don't like this one. Yeah, I don't like this one at all. God, it feels so weird having Mathmech in a tier below Nimron. I'm putting it up there. I refuse to put it any lower. There's definitely some Copium stuff though, I think. I don't know. I don't know where I want to put Mathmech. I want to put Mathmech somewhere here. I don't know. Alright, we'll talk about that one later. Alright, Blackwing. This is some major Copium, but it's actually like, I'm pretty sure it's Despair level Copium. Maybe this should be the Copium tier. Yeah, this is, a lot of people don't think Blackwing is really strong, because you would have noticed from a couple of YouTube highlights and like the deck list on my channel, you can very, very, very easily set up a board that is really impossible to play through, whether that be infinite burn, or just making it so that your opponent gets Kali Yuga. It's a very strong field, but the issue with it is, your deck list itself gets to run not as many hand traps as something like Sprite, for example, and the other side of it is, it's really only good going first. A lot of the time, your opponent's just going to disrupt you and you're going to lose the game. Because this deck list, it's very easily disrupted. It has a very similar sort of hit point as Branded does, where your deck list relies heavily on... Let me find a deck list. Blackwing is in here somewhere. Where are we? Blackwing, Blackwing, Blackwing. I'll just look it up, that'll be easier, right? Blackwing. Alright, Blackwing. Yeah, it's a very easy hit point, in that being this card here, because this card is sort of like a branded fusion for the deck. So if your opponent activates Ash Blossom in response to this card, the deck basically dies. So unlike Branded though, it doesn't have as many hand traps or as many sort of ways to play going second or clear through things, or a lot of the advantages Branded has, the little grindy stuff, Blackwing doesn't really have. So it's got this really huge inherent weakness of, I just die to a singular Ash Blossom, but the only downside is, it doesn't have any of the upsides that Branded has with it. So yeah, I don't like the deck at all just because of this card is so easily hit. Even like an Imperm just ruins your strat, so, which is something that Branded isn't actually hit by. So it's hit by a lot more hand traps. It's only really good going first, and going second, it's just dead. So I'm going to put it in Despair tier actually. Alright, next up we have Sprite. Sprite, it's up here. So honestly, I think out of the 3 decks here, I'd prefer Sprite, because out of the 3 decks here, the reason you're mostly playing these is because, well, they're searchable. You can play Dimensional Shifter in here. You can also play some other cards in here, which I don't think many people are playing, like the Fisher. So, yeah, you can play Fisher as well. But the only issue with these two decks is those cards aren't searchable, but you can't open them. Sprite, on the other hand, its actual way to counter the meta is to search for, or search for the Melfi, right? And go into the Melfi Synchro. Sorry, not the Melfi Synchro. The Melfi card that turns into the Synchro. Why am I clicking all these decks? Where is it, Sprite? Yeah, it just plays the Melfi stuff. It goes in the Melfi stuff that goes into your Herald. And this is a 100% combo that you'll be doing every single game without having to just pray you hit Shifter. Which, by the way, you'll notice, a lot of people for some reason don't realize this. Sprite can play Dimension Shifter. It doesn't care. Going first, you probably won't activate it all that often unless you know your opponent's playing tier, so you probably won't really activate it. But that doesn't really matter, because the whole point is if you have it in your hand going second, it'll win you the game instantly. Because you activate it, your opponent has to pass, goes back to you, you can OTK your opponent without summoning your Sprite Elf or doing any graveyard plays. You really don't need it. You just need to get like 4 or 5 level 2s on the field, activate your Gamma Burst, and your opponent is dead. So Shifter is 100% good in this deck list, and they have a searchable version of Herald. So honestly, if I was going to play any of these, I'd put Sprite over here, because I think Sprite is just the best of the three here. It's really goddamn good. It's also fairly quick. Like I said, if you're going second, or your whole plan is just activate Gamma Burst and kill your opponent, it's fairly simple. You just sort of flat out your hand. No sort of a super elaborate plays need to be made. I think it's probably the best one of these three. Alright, what do we got next? Dark Magician. Okay, that's despair tier. Yeah, okay. If you're playing Dark Magician or Blue Eyes in this event, I'm sorry, buddy. Especially Blue Eyes, that one is Giga Despair. It needs its own tier. Hang on, let me just... This one's actually just... yeah, this is... We'll put Blue Eyes in there. Now, these deck lists are just... They're super anime, but my god. Is Blue Eyes, like, even a playable deck in any form or any sense? I know it won Worlds at some point in IRL, so it's got that going for it. At least Dark Magician has some sort of plays. I can play some Floodgates. I don't know how Blue Eyes even plays the game. Alright, Adamantipator. I don't like Adamantipator in this format at all, but I feel like it has the exact same weaknesses as Rika, and does the same sort of thing as Rika. They're basically the exact same deck, because both of them I'm pretty sure are affected by the Floodgates that affect tier, so that's a major weakness for them. But they're also decks that set up really goddamn insane endboards that a lot of opponents just cannot play through. I think both these decks are really good into most of the decks on here that aren't named Telement. So I think about the same sort of strength. I think this one actually has a few toppings as well, if I remember correctly. Don't need this anymore. Where is it? I think they have a few toppings. Let's have a look-see. Adamantipator. Am I blind? Oh, there it is. They have a couple. I don't want to see the last 2 weeks. I think the last 4. Yeah, they have a couple. They have quite a few toppings, and they can play. Oh, they can play the Ishizu Shufflers too. I actually forgot that. Is there a graveyard deck, right? They've also got Block Dragon nerfed now though, which is a bit rough for them. Yeah, they're actually Earth. They can play all the new Vernisylph stuff too. Maybe the deck's a bit better than I think it is. It's definitely better than Rika. Is it good not to be in this tier, though? Surely not, right? It does have quite a few toppings, though. That is probably more than Sword Style actually has. Maybe just because it has the Ishizu Shufflers, it actually deserves a higher tier than I'm giving it. Any of these major tournaments? Let me have a look. A Master Circuit series? Oh, that's a pretty big one. That's the only real major tournament topping it has, though. One Master Circuit series. That's about the same as Rika. This deck is so close to being in this tier. It's so close, but I don't think it's quite there. I think I prefer both of these over Adamantipator. I could be wrong on that one, though. I could be wrong on that one. I think I'm going to keep it here, though, because I think, like I said, the weaknesses of having all these counter sort of decks all really affect this one fairly hard. But it does actually have that added bonus of having the Ishizu cards to counter Telement itself, so I don't know on that one. Alright. What's next? Dynamorphia. Okay. I think I'm going to put this right next to the Labyrinth, because the same sort of strat, you're just hoping to go first, and if you do go first, you probably win, but going second, you're just a dead deck. Well, I say you probably win, but you still like get affected by Ash Blossom and stuff. I'll put it right next to here, though. They're both basically the same stuff. The only advantage I think Dynamorphia has is it's technically not just a pure deck list. You can play Dynamorphia with Dynamorphia trap card and anything, so if realistically, any of these decks here, you could literally play Dynamorphia in if you like, so I'm going to put it in at least Copium, but I wouldn't recommend it. Alright, so this one is the exact same as Numeron. Literally the exact same. They're both really good going second deck lists, because that's what his whole goal is. So I think this is really good. I don't think as much, obviously I don't think it's going to be your top tiers over here. I don't think it's going to be an actual Telement counter or anything. But I think it's a really decent deck list that deserves its own, yeah, deserves at least tier 4. It's also a quick deck list, so in a stage 2 format, you're going to be going second, you just kill your opponent instantly, and that's the plan. But I don't think it's much better than... It's a little bit Copium, but it definitely deserves a place up here just because of its speed alone. It will definitely, I wouldn't be surprised if you see this in like a top 100 placing or something, but I think it'll be one of the lower ranks of top 100 if you do. Alright, next we have Telement itself. Alright. Okay, so there's a couple of things I want to mention with Telement. Obviously, it's got its own tier because it is the best deck in the game, and by far the best deck in the game. There's nothing close to it. But the thing with Telement is it's going to be... It's a deck that is, most of the time when you go into the event, you're going to be coming across other players playing tier. Meaning, if your win rate in the mirror match isn't going to be positive, so like you're not too good against other tier players, or other Telement players are generally better than you, and you're pretty mediocre at the deck, you shouldn't be playing it. Because although you can probably climb with it, as you're going to be smashing everyone else in here, it's a slow deck, and it's a deck that in the mirror match, you're going to be tying against a lot. And you're either going to be low win rate, or... yeah, you'll be playing a slow deck list with, like, at best 50% win rate, and you're not going to climb with it. So, I don't recommend playing this deck list unless you're really goddamn proficient at Telement. That's basically what I'm trying to say. All the good players, all the top cut placings, it's going to be everywhere, but everyone that's playing it at the top is going to be actually good at the deck list. If you're not that great at tier, you're probably better off playing one of the tier counters, because they're all generally easier, and they also don't have to worry about this horrendous mirror match that's going to be awfully slow, so if you're not winning them, you're not going to be gaining points, and you get trapped in this sort of situation where you're just wasting an awful lot of time in stage 2. So that's all I want to say about tier. Virtual World. This is like... is this even a deck anymore? Like, without a VFD? Why is it even on here? I'm tempted to put this in Giga Despair, because, like, is this even a... I guess it's like hand loops now or something? It can't go in Blue Eyes tier. We'll put it in here, okay? We'll put it in at least here. Alright, Marine Cess. So, Marine Cess I tried out the other day when I was making my video, and it performed better than I thought it would, but it still got an awful matchup into Ashizu Shufflers and tier stuff, so it's probably only a Copium. Because you can, the bright side of playing this deck list is you can run a lot of the counter sort of things like your DD Crows, and there's a lot of tech slots, but that's basically all it's got going for it is tech slots, and that's not super promising for a deck list where it just loses to any of the Ashizu Shufflers, so I think it's Copium. It can't be much better. It's also not the quickest deck, it's fairly slow, it's gotta be Copium. Eldritch. Another deck which I feel like doesn't even have like a strat anymore. It loses to Ashizu Shufflers, it lost all its floodgates. It's in Giga Despair, boys. That is this is not a deck anymore. Not in my game. Hero. Okay, so Hero is actually, no joke, I think Hero is up here. I think Hero is actually up here. Hero might even be in, it's close to being in the tier 2 category. Does it have any, I know it had at least one Farther tournament topping, whatever it's called. The, where's Hero at? Hero. I had a couple tournament toppings. Yeah, Challenger Cup. This was like a top 8 topping too. It's pretty crazy. So obviously the good thing about this deck list is it has a searchable out to tier in your Masked Hero Darklaw. And the other good thing about it for this specific tournament is it's fairly quick, because this deck list itself, it's just, if you go first and you set up your board, if your opponent breaks it, you concede. If you go second, you try to kill your opponent. If they stop you, you concede. That is basically how this deck list works. There's no like giga grind game going on or big mental sort of stuff going on. It's just, yep, you try to win, Your opponent stops you, you lose it, you just concede and go next. You don't keep trying to play the game, keep trying to grind things out. You're OTKing or you're getting broken and you're losing. I don't think it's good enough for this tier though, because the issue with it is, although it has this one good searchable counter to Telement, all these other decks in here that are designed to beat tier are generally not caring about the Telement counters, so they don't care about Dark Claw all that much. So it's only super good into Telement, and everything else, it's hot garbage. So I think it's good enough to be in this tier, because a lot of the matchups are going to be Telement, and it has a pretty decent win rate into that. It's also very quick, but it's it probably loses to everything else in here, is what I'm trying to say. Dino, huh? Where does Dino go? Dino feels so much like these two. But I don't know if has anyone even played Dino recently? I mean, they must have, that's why I put them on this list. But I don't know if does that have any, like, toppings anywhere? Or anything? That's the wrong one. 1 topping? 2? What tourneys were these? Random ass one and random ass one. Alright, it can't be as good as these ones. No one's playing it for a reason. But it does the same sort of approach as this deck does. It has the same sort of weaknesses. Once again, it's a deck that sets up an insane infield. And it's also a deck list that loses to things like Shifter. So I think it's the same things these do. It just must do them worse. It can't play like the Ishizu Shufflers, for example. But I think it's good enough to be in this tier just because it does the same stuff. It just is slightly worse. So yeah, same sort of thing though. Alright, that's a... Don't play Sky... For the love of God, don't play Skystrike. Skystrike is like, in this current format, it's awful. It's just awful. Especially in a slow format, in a speed format, sorry. It's a giga slow deck, and it loses to, like, I mean, it's probably more of a Copium tier deck, just because it is pure Copium, but I'm going to put it in Giga Despair, because it's actually it's a garbage deck, okay? Don't be playing this shit. Alright. Here's another Giga Despair deck, actually. This deck right here, it's, this is Stun. So the issue with Stun in this format is, although it has the advantage of having a bunch of floodgates that a lot of these decks can't play through, if you come across one stubborn opponent, just one person who decides that they don't want to concede, they want to play through whatever you're doing, they don't give a shit if you're going to sit there and try to inspect a board and beat down them to death. They're going to be setting every one of their hand traps in defense position and waiting for that out they don't have in their deck list. That one person is going to cost you 2 hours of your time, and that's 2 hours of the event you're not going to get back. You're not going to climb with this deck list in Stage 2. It takes way too long to win games. Just way too damn long. It's a despair tier. So, honestly, it has a decent win rate to some of these other matchups, though, so it's probably good enough. It'll be good enough to climb Stage 1, but Stage 2, it is despair. Alright, so this is Spiral. So Spiral, I think, will be absolutely horrendous in Stage 2 because its speed is way too damn slow. But its win rate, I feel like, is actually quite decent. There's a lot of the same stuff these decks do, like same as Endymion, does the same as sort of Misk, where it just sets up with these really big end boards, but it's really slow in doing so. So I think it's in this tier, I think. Yeah, I'm going to put it in there. These are the sort of decks that are just sort of like, yeah. Nimrod looks so weird in here, but I feel like just because it's got a speed format, it's the same sort of board breaking as this deck here. And these board breaking speed decks are probably pretty good in a Stage 2 format. Yeah, I think these are all about the same. I think these three are probably better than the board breaking decks though. Maybe make my own going... Alright, let's make a... I feel like putting these four in the same placing as these two feels insulting. So I'm going to put them in a gotta go fast tier. Because that's the only reason they're good in this format is because they go fast. So we'll put them in their own tier. And Punk. So finally, Punk, I think, is a bit Copium. Because although Punk feels a lot like Marine Sets, we can set up a fairly decent field and have a bunch of tech cards. But you can't play Dimension Shifter. If you can play Dimension Shifter, same with Marine Sets actually, I think both these decks would be good because they can play so many different hand traps and they have a lot of draw in them. But yeah, I don't think Punk's generally good in this current format. Especially considering a lot of the time Punk was being played. I guess Punk can be good if you play it in like the Chaos tier variants, like the one I uploaded not too long ago. So maybe I should put it in at least this tier purely because it's like a... can be teched in other places, and then it might be okay. Let's see, has anyone got any pure punk decks? Probably not, right? There's a Shizu Chaos, actually. No actual toppings, though, with it. Just people messing around with it. A topping? What was that in? Anything important? A Master Circuit series. Oh, he's playing just Sprite. Or I think because okay, it's a package. I think because it's a package, we can play in other stuff. We'll put it in here, just because it is good enough, but only as a package. I think. I don't think it's good enough on its own, so we'll put it in at least here, but no higher than that. All right, so that's it of our tier list. Anything in here I want to change? Not really. I think I like what we did here. Alright, so that's going to do it for my tier list. If you guys enjoyed this, make sure to let me know down below. Leave a like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. If there's anything in here you disagree with, also let me know down below and sort of feel free to insult me, because, yeah, feel free to do so. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a like. Please do subscribe, as, yeah, lets me know if you guys actually want to see more of these tier lists or more videos just like this. If you're waiting around for a Duel Links variant of this, I'll probably do one depending on how well this video does. So if you're looking for that, leave a like, all that kind of stuff. And yeah. I think I'll leave I don't know if I can share this or anything, but if I can share this somewhere, I'll leave a link to it in the description down below if you guys want to check it out yourself. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hope to see you in the next one. Laters.